I will not have it. In Tudor England, a father built a system to survive his own execution. When Thomas Cromwell fell, his son should have died with him. He didn't. Men fall, Gregory. Only what they build remains. At the height of his power, Cromwell was building something that would outlive him. Not a law, not a church, but his son's survival. He was building a fortress, not of stone, but of paper and blood. Because in Tudor England, power didn't protect you. And when Cromwell fell, his son should have followed. Welcome to Thronebound Histories. In 1528, Cromwell lost his wife and both his daughters to the sweating sickness. One child remained, Gregory Cromwell. Everything that followed was built around him. Another layer, another wall in the fortress. To protect his son, Cromwell relied on legal structures, arrangements known as uses. In simple terms, trusted associates technically held his lands on Gregory's behalf. If the crown moved against Cromwell personally, those estates were, at least on paper, separate from his fall. Again, from the beginning. Amo, amas, amat. Again, you'll get it. Some contemporaries described Gregory as unremarkable. He struggled with his studies. He lacked his father's political instincts. But that didn't matter. He wasn't being trained to succeed. He was being trained to survive. In the late 30s, Cromwell played his masterstroke, a marriage. He bound Gregory to Elizabeth Seymour, sister of the late Queen and aunt to the king's long-awaited heir, Prince Edward. This didn't make Gregory powerful. It made him difficult to destroy. Cromwell didn't just choose a bride, he chose a shield. He treats me like a piece of glass, like I'll break if he doesn't wrap me in enough parchment and law. Your father didn't build a fortress with parchment. Then what? He built it with me. Because you are a Seymour, because I am aunt to the future king. He tied you to my blood, so if you fall, you don't fall alone. That's not protection. No, it's survival. While his father reshaped England, Gregory stayed out of sight, deliberately. Sometimes power wasn't visible, it was simply close enough to matter. And then everything collapsed. There will be no matters, blacksmith. Thomas Cromwell, I arrest you for high treason. On whose authority? The king knows my heart. The king knows you for a heretic and a traitor. This belongs to a gentleman, not a dog like you. Cromwell was arrested at a council meeting. From the Tower, he wrote desperate letters to Henry VIII, pleading for mercy and asking that the king be a good and gracious lord to his son. It was his final act of protection, one last layer in the fortress. And at home, the fortress began to empty. Nothing had been taken from them, not yet, but everything they had now belonged to the king. They're going to kill him. I have to write to the king. He'll listen. No. No, if I don't try, you'll die with him. He's my father, and you are his son. That's exactly why the king will destroy you. Then what am I supposed to do? Just stand here while he dies? I love him, Elizabeth. Does that count for nothing in this court? It counts for everything. It is the only thing here that isn't made of ink or ice. But the king does not trade in love, Gregory. He trades in heads. On July 28, 1540, the same day the king married his fifth wife, Catherine Howard, Thomas Cromwell was executed. Men fall, Gregory. Only what they build remains. But notice what didn't happen. Gregory Cromwell was never arrested, never questioned. The government moved against the father and stopped there. They didn't come for me. They didn't even knock on the door. He died for this silence, for this cowardice. Gregory, stop. Keep your voice down. Walls have ears in this house. He was my father. I loved him. How am I supposed to look in a mirror? How do I live with this? You live because he paid for your life with his blood. Do not waste the price he paid. You should go. What? To your family, to the Seymours. You'll be safe there. The children will be safe. And you, I'm his son. If the king decides he wants the rest of us gone, it will be me he comes for. You think I would leave you? I think you should. I won't drag you down with me. You don't get to decide that alone. I stood alone once with nothing. I will not do it again. I stood beside you when your father rose. I will stand beside you now that he's fallen. We survive this together. But in this volatile court, silence alone wasn't enough. To survive, you had to separate yourself from the dead. Elizabeth knew exactly how to play the game. Elizabeth wrote a letter to Henry VIII, a masterpiece of calculated submission. She thanked the king for uncovering her father-in-law's treasons. She severed Gregory and her children from the traitor's fall. She wrote the words without hesitation, and for a moment she understood what she had stepped into. My son has a good heart, and a good heart is what survives when everything else is taken. The letter was cold, it was brutal, and it was exactly what was needed. In December 1540, the gamble paid off. Gregory was raised to the peerage, not as his father's heir, but as something new, Baron Cromwell. He was the most faithful servant I ever had, and I destroyed him. He was a traitor, he had to be. The father is gone, but the son, we will have use of him. It is my father's name. No, it is a new name, one that can live. The line between the father's fall and the son's future had been carefully drawn. Gregory never rose as high as his father. He didn't try. He lived quietly, and he survived. In 1551, at just 31 years old, Gregory Cromwell died, not by the axe, but by the same disease that had taken his mother and sisters decades earlier. Thomas Cromwell built a shield that could withstand the wrath of kings, but not nature itself. In Tudor England, survival wasn't triumph, it was the only victory that mattered. If you're drawn to the hidden mechanics of power like this, subscribe to Thronebound Histories for more stories from the shadow of the throne.